Welcome to the latest episode of the Gazelle podcast. God knows what number we're up to now, like 20, 21 or something. Really happy today to welcome Mike Findley, the founder of Letz Do. Thank you for joining us today, Mike.
Thanks for the introduction.
So for those that don't know already, and I'm sure most do, can you give us a bit of background on your time in the umbrella sector?
Sorry, just before us. I'm here as well, everybody. Hello.
Yeah, he's over there somewhere.
You get the intro now, you think that's it. It's all about you, Gary. Sorry, Mike, you crack on, mate. You're the guest.
Yeah, I came into the industry, umbrella.
Yeah.
And I did all the hard yards on the road, the 4 o'clock starts, the sales targets, etc. Then sort of got through to sort of operations director and running of the umbrella. We kind of then set up a funding business, timesheet funding business alongside that, and those two kind of work really well together because to run an umbrella, you've got to know your compliance at every stage and when everything happens. And it was a really good mix to run the funding business as well as the umbrella on that. So that's kind of my background until I decided to come out of it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, before we move on to Let's Do, you mentioned a couple of really good points there in that working in that umbrella world, you get to learn two really different worlds in that it's, of course, very compliance heavy. You've got to be really on top of your ops. But actually, it's quite a sales-focused world as well, isn't it? So you kind of end up spanning both.
Yeah, I think if you go sort of back to 2014, 2016, where the false self-employment legislation came into play, which I'm sure we can all remember, you kind of had a period where you could get business based on how good you were at processing expenses for the contractor. That obviously reflected with salary sacrifice to have an increase in net take-home for them. Since that's kind of gone, what you've kind of seen is that it's more of a level playing field there because you've got the customer service, the sales, the reliability, and definitely the compliance comes into play. And I think with the recent joint and several liability for April 26th, I think that's going to become even more prominent next year. I think you'll find that it's now back to basics and look after your clients again.
Yeah, absolutely. So you worked in that umbrella world and you decided to leave and set up Let's Do. Was that something you always planned on doing, or did that kind of happen by accident?
No, I think I got to the stage of my life where it's when you get to 50, by the way, Gary. I wanted to do something different. Yeah. I wanted to be my own boss, and it was kind of, let's take the leap of faith. If not now, when? Yeah. And you tend to find all the people you used to compete against ferociously all become your friends. Yeah. All of a sudden. Which is quite nice. I decided sort of last February to set up Let's Do as the consultancy.
Yeah. Best thing you ever did?
Yeah. Yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. So on Let's Do, can you kind of just run us through the background of the business and what it is you're doing for people?
Yeah. As Let's Do, it's a consultancy. When you work for one funder, the person when they walked out the door walked out thinking that funder was the best because that's all you could advise on. Yeah. I've now got a panel of funders and a panel of umbrellas as well. So when they come to me now, they get more independent advice. And as you probably know, with Let's Do, the core products are the funding, factoring, invoice discounting, the umbrella and the compliance, and all those three kind of wrap together, to be honest with you. And different stages of consultant or of people, of inquiries that come through, provides different advice that you have to give. And that's where the secret to success is, I think, in how good you do that. What happened as a result of that is when you've got your main core products within Let's Do that I set up, all the doors opened: business insurance, credit insurance, umbrella insurance, websites. I'm sure you're going to go into a few of those.
I've got the full list here. If you don't mind, Mike, I'll run through them.
Yeah.
So we've got them. Yeah. No. Well, if we can get a beat going, Tyler, maybe. We've got Let's Do Factoring and Invoice Discounting. Let's Do Credit Insurance. Let's Do Startups and Existing Agencies. Let's Do Exit and MBO Funding. Let's Do HMRC Compliance. Promise I'm getting there. Let's Do Umbrella and Payroll Servicing. Incubator Contracts Advice and Funding. Let's Do Loans. Let's Do Cost of Sale and Legislation. Let's Do Business Telecoms Advice. Let's Do Neutral Vendors. Recruitment Training. Send Training. Let's Do Adult and Social Care Training. Let's Do Recruitment Websites. Promise I'm getting there. Let's Do Logos and Branding. Let's Do Construction Recruitment. Let's Do Engineering Excellence. Let's Do Perms. And let's do Mental Health and Life Coaching. I nearly got lost at one.
Yeah, and I've not paid you for that.
No. So it's fair to say, Mike, you do quite a bit.
Yeah, there's different plates spinning in the business, which is really good. And behind every product that we offer, we've got preferred vetted partners that would work in conjunction with Let's Do. And what you tend to find is the core products, if you do a good job at the beginning, they'll come back to you for the rest, and that's really what happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's about being a trusted advisor, and we find that as well, don't we, Gary? When you sat down with clients and you're doing a good job on one thing, they want to talk to you about others as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to jump at this point because you can tell that Gary's written the questions for today, so he's kind of hogging the show. So it's all about Gary now, right? Okay, bloody ego on that guy. So look, I think I'm interested in that journey. Really, you say February last year, was it? As soon as that. So I think, our journey's not dissimilar, right, in terms of time. We celebrate our second anniversary this weekend.
Yeah.
Not making this about us, but tell me about that experience, what it's felt like. Day one, you wake up and, you're running a business now, right? It's very, very different.
Yeah.
All the challenges. What's been what's the story really, but what's been the biggest challenges in that time, and what's been those sort of moments where you've gone, yeah, it's pretty cool?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the things that you recognise straight away is that the luxury of what you probably had in a corporate previously, where you had your accounts, you had your marketing, you had your lawyers, you had everything within the business, and if anything needed doing, you had go-to people. IT was one as well.
Oh yeah.
I think you notice very quickly that when you set up on your own, which is great, but you have to start relearning the areas that you never thought you had to. And all of a sudden the time aspect to it becomes quite a scarce resource, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
The main thing on that, I think, that does help is that when you set up on your own, you don't have as many meetings as you maybe used to, or meetings about meetings.
Yep.
So you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you've worked 5 hours before you got to 11, or 6 hours till 12 o'clock, and you've probably done 2 days worth of work.
And when you're meeting someone, you're actually meeting a client or a prospect or someone to actually talk about something relevant rather than somebody internal to talk about, what temperature you're having on the air conditioning for the rest of the year or something.
Absolutely, and it's a learning curve that I went through because I had those luxuries, and I think you can put that into agency inquiries with someone wanting to start up as well, and helping them understand the difference between a recruitment consultant cap that they'll have on the head and a director's cap. Mm-hmm. And having done that journey on it, it's genuine advice.
Honestly, it's the one thing that has sort of changed. But I've run businesses for other people, and you think you're running a business and all that's great. But like you say, with the comfort of some private equity cash over there, or a team of all these different people telling you what to do, what not to do. Sometimes actually the what not to do that's the scary thing, because I've got nobody telling me what not to do anymore, which is why we've got a podcast, I guess. But I think that's the great part of it, isn't it? When you sit down in front of a business owner or somebody, an independent, you can generally give advice, like not just from the head, but from the heart, right? It really comes from the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see it as well. And the good thing is, I think that, let's take startup agencies as an example. You'll have a chat with them, you'll make them aware of a few areas that they might not have been aware. You get them off the ground with a funder, you get the umbrella, them looking after on the umbrella, you give them a compliance arm if they need one at that stage, because some funders offer that within what their product is, as you know. The refreshing thing for me is when you probably speak to them in 3 months' time, they're now a director of a business,
Yeah.
and they've started running the business, but it was an unknown entity effectively. They didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
And I think so long as you can help them understand that it's so important to get the sales and get the business generation, because a lot of these people are probably in covenants for 12 months.
Absolutely.
When they leave an agency.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they need to understand that it's a tough world that they're going into there. So sales and getting the client contact, etc., is vitally important. You see that person probably 12 months down the line where they've got a bit of money on the P&L now.
Yeah. Your grey hairs.
Yeah, the chest is sticking out a bit more than it used to on that. And all of a sudden now, they've kind of learned how a ledger is run. They've learned how money is collected in. All of a sudden at that stage, they could be at a different stage. So a lot of the funders all of a sudden come into the arena to say, now you've run a business, we're interested in getting your business. And because you've kind of helped them with the compliance and get them, and it becomes second nature with them, then they can probably look at reducing those funding costs a little bit and taking something a little bit back in-house that they couldn't do from day one.
And that's something that, you know, when you've been there for the start and all the different services and things that you do, obviously like the crossover, right, into, you know, you're providing a service. I guess you probably you don't provide just one service to very many people, right?
Yeah.
You get in there, you're sort of supporting those people through that. But actually, if you've watched that business grow, you've watched the director, the individuals grow in that business, then you're there to be able to give them that next sort of level of advice, and point them in, actually, this is the level now, these are the people you should be speaking to.
Yeah, completely, because I think what you've got to do with people, if they inset that first bit of business with you, then there must be an element of trust that they have with you to want to engage with you on your advice. What happens then is you become a go-to person for them. So if something comes up unexpectedly, they can ring you and you know you'll look after them. Yeah. Eventually, the objective is for them to become an advocate of you. So they start telling other people, and other people come to you for the simple reason of you doing the basics, that we all used to do in the olden days, and not a lot of people do it now.
We talked about that, didn't we, just before we sort of set off on this today. I think, you know, you talk about having a benchmark, and I totally agree. And I think, you know, I don't mean this across everybody, because, you know, there's a load of great people out there doing, you know, in your industry, our industry, across, you know, we see your industry obviously every day, and we see that. But actually, benchmarks have slipped a lot, right? I don't think it's that. You know, what we were brought up on was, you know, you always phone people back, right? You answer the phone, you deal with the stuff you say you're going to do, you know, you give bad news, you do the things that you have to do, you do the things, sometimes it's face to face, wherever, and all those kind of things that, you know, we use the term traditional values a lot in our business. But I mean, how have you found kind of competing in a world that, you know, you stepped away from a corporate arena now into a, you know, very much your own sort of boutique kind of business, and how have you found competing with service levels from other kind of organisations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from you wanting to do something a little bit different to everyone else. When I hear that somebody won't call them back after 5 o'clock on a Friday, I quite like that, because I will. And I think what you tend to find is you find that more in corporate. The ones that do it outside of the time, I'm not advocating that you've got to work outside business hours, because obviously you're contracted to the work hours, but I like to see for example, when I'm with my preferred partners, I won't deal with dickheads, people that won't call me back. That's the 15. That's
going to get its own little short, by the way. That's the quote of the day.
I won't, because I need people to call me back when somebody's started to engage me on that journey. Me personally, and I've done this for the last 10 years, anyone can call me in the evenings if they need to. They can call me at weekends. If I can answer, I will. If I can't, I'll call them back next. Because the important thing for me there is they're entrusting me with their business. And if I'm looking at offering everything else to them, I need to be that go-to person, and they can almost become a friend almost. So they know that they can always call me at any time, and if it isn't convenient, they won't get a call, but they'll get a call next time. But I don't think many people do that nowadays.
And I think less and less, definitely. I think you're right. There's a bit of a shift in mentality of, you know, we're in our industry. I spoke to my broker, well, they said that, you know, the insurance company was shut or whatever else, and like, you've got to find solutions. You know, there's no insurance company I can't get hold of if I need to do after the hour of 5 o'clock kind of thing. You just got to phone the right people. I think, you know, that's the thing about where relationships, and you're talking about there not dealing with dickheads and your suppliers and the people that you know you're going to put in front of these businesses at, let's be frank, the most vulnerable time. They've gone off, and it's a very exciting journey. You said it's the best thing you've done, and I totally concur with that. It's also shit scariest thing you ever do, right?
Yeah,
when
completely.
You probably use the word cash flow a lot more than
than you
have done, you know, your entire life.
I just don't eat, Gary.
Tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it. Well, you know, but yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you've got to. It's so much more important almost that the people that you're then introducing your clients to have got a similar mindset and ethos to you.
Completely, and I've got some fantastic preferred partners that sit behind, including you guys as well. And I've had to get rid of a couple, I'll be honest with you, that you didn't get the call back a couple of days. It's no good for someone inquiring because the kettle gets cold, as we all know.
But that's why people use you, isn't it? Because you've gone through that filtering process. The people who haven't been cutting the mustard, you've cut them out.
Yeah, completely. I mean, this all started in the old days in Umbrella when somebody's payment was missed on a Friday, and the agency needs that person to turn up on the Monday. We needed to understand the market and understand our clients. So I was getting calls on Saturday morning, and we'd pay them. We'd pay the contractor on the umbrella on the Saturday morning, but people knew they could call me just to stop that person ringing them 5 times on a Saturday. Even if I had to pay out my own cash, I'd pay them and get that problem off the desk. And people stayed with me as a result of it. And I've tried to carry that through with Let's Do.
But that problem, as you say there, is somebody's client.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's somebody at the end of that who, you know, can't eat or whatever. It's important to them. And I think whilst, you know, and this is the frustration almost in a world that is a little bit more, you know, online and a bit less personal and focused and whatever else. There was a time when, you know, somebody used to come to your office, like you knew, you know, you could see the
donuts.
You know, they were, you know, they needed they needed the claim paying, they needed the money paying, or whatever it was. Whereas actually, it's easy now almost to sort of, you know, if you're pressing a button or not pressing a button kind of thing, you know, I'll press that button on Monday, and because it's better for my P&L, or it's better for my thing, or it'll be complicated for me. That's not how the world works, is it? And I think that's the stuff that, again, you know, as we all know, we're talking offline, running smaller boutique, different kind of businesses, is it's so important that you know, you don't just say it, but you do it.
Yeah, and I think if you look at, say you look at, let's use an analogy, if you go for a mortgage at Nationwide, you'll walk out thinking Nationwide's mortgage is the best. Now that person might not need to contact you because you're a number.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for the next person to come in. And I think when you've got a panel of funders and you've got a portfolio of products, it's even more important to get that reliability and trust with people on that.
As you mentioned a couple of times, it changes over time in the same way an insurance policy that might have been the best one for you 2 years ago might not be the best one for you today. You know, particularly as an agency grows, if they can get a better rate a couple of years on, particularly as margins get squeezed, or as, you know, what they need from an umbrella provider might change over the years. So it's not just I've come in, I've found your provider, I've done the job.
Yeah.
It's that kind of constant.
After sales is important as well, I find, because when I was a director of the umbrella, it was really important that when you took the insurance, you knew that I could ring Gary that was going to sort out an issue that I might have on the claim, for example. And a lot of the time now, you've got that aspect of corporate, and there's a process, and you go through to the different person every time. And I think that it was massive for pain to be taken away from me, because a lot of businesses have got other variables that they've got to manage. So they need know that that's ticked off with Gazelle, or that's ticked off with yourself, and they can move on to other stuff. That's important to me.
Yeah, well, what you never want from a particularly insurance broker or company is, you know, I dealt with this guy at the sales stage. When something happens, he wants nothing to do with me. You know, they've moved on. It's important.
And you know the ones that do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our structure. Our structure. Hold on a second. You were knocking on my door every fucking 5 minutes not long ago, wanting my business and stuff. And again, there's a place in the world for all sorts. I'm all for clean, efficient processes, and, you know, the world's a better place for, you know, we came from an environment 30 years ago when I started where, you know, I was one of the lucky ones. We had a computer between us, but, like, you know, on desk there were files everywhere,
Yellow pages
and all that kind of stuff. Massive. That was my biggest sales tool. Talk about marketing, a yellow page.
yeah.
Okay, who am I going to phone today?
A lot of the kids won't understand that.
Yeah, like Jesus, yeah, that's one for the dads. That one.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the thing is, you go from. We've grown up in that kind of environment, right? And I think, the world, and again, it sounds like we're just a lot of grumpy old men now moaning about the world. But I don't think it is. I think, process efficiencies, IT systems, AI, all that great stuff is so important, right? It helps, make your business, your 20 odd Let's Do brands.
Yeah.
Right? I needed 100 people behind them, a few years ago, whereas now obviously it needs a leaner team because you've got technology, you've got solutions and all those kind of things. But it comes out of the fundamentals, right? People keep saying to me, insurance, it's going to get replaced by AI, it's going to get replaced by that. As long as there are people out there that look like us, I don't think the business, that we do is going to, by that I mean by age, by the way, that's not gender specific or anything else. What I'm saying is from an age perspective is, while there's clients that I want to go to you for support, you want to go to Gary for support, what else?
Yeah.
That's how it should work, right? That's not going to go away just because we're better at doing processes now.
Yeah, and there's a reason why I'll get a call with somebody who's got current business insurance or umbrella, and they've got the call and they picked up the phone and called me at Let's Do to say, can you help? Yeah. There's a reason for that, because they're not being looked after, really. Yeah. And that tends to be, and it's not just looking after, they don't feel that the insurer understands where their business is at. And you made a point whereby it evolves and the requirements change, businesses change, and it's people aren't doing the basics still.
Yeah. So we touched on earlier changes in the umbrella market. So we've got this joint and several liability coming in, which we've spoken a bit about on the podcast. What would your advice be? Kind of right now, of course, April, still 6 months away, but it's going to come around quick. Yeah. Kind of what would your advice be to kind of recruitment leaders and recruitment agencies now as to what they need to do?
Yeah, it's a good question, that is, and I think you can use past experience for that. Starting with, if you probably remember, we had the off payroll in 2017, and in the public sector and the private sector 2021. I was at the umbrella then, and what was happening is we had all these changes that was coming in the off payroll. We were going out telling people that you need to be on top of this because they were engaging with limited companies. Yeah. All the nurses were paid by limited companies.
Still are, but
yeah, probably are. But when that changed, what happened? And I still remember to this day, 2 weeks before the April of 2017 that was coming into play, they were still paying the nurses by limited company, but when they realised they couldn't the week after April, all of a sudden the phones went like Canary Wharf. The point being that the agencies kind of left it, took the margin, which is quite understandable, didn't want to deal with the problem head on, but then we had a mushroom cloud of inquiries. The registration staff had to register about 400 or 500 people in the space of a couple of days. We got them pizzas till 10:30 at night to do it for us. And then it was like, because everything was happening so quick, you had the contractors, the nurses, not liking the deductions that they'll have to have on PAYE with umbrella now, because it was always paid effectively gross on the limited company. The point I'm making there is, let's not have that again. With joint and several liability in April. Let's not wait for a couple of weeks before that you start doing things. Do things now. The umbrellas that I deal with are really on point. They've already got they're already vetting the pay slips now to HMRC guidance, requirements on the deductions. It's all an agency can already see that is done. That's been submitted correctly. And I can get that. We've got the umbrellas that we can put people in front of us on that can give them a head start on that. So it's being done now before April 26 comes into play on it. So that's my advice: is don't put your head in the sand. Really.
So the umbrellas are getting on top of it. Are you seeing history repeating itself, or are people leaving it to last minute again? Or you talk to a lot of agencies. Are they a bit better prepared this time?
From the inquiries I'm getting for Let's Do compliance, I'm tending to find it's a mixed bag. People are thinking they know pretty much what the scenario is, what they need to do. I mean, these umbrellas have got to put a big arm around the agencies and say everything's going to be okay, as far as I'm concerned on that. You've got you've got a lot of a couple of agencies that really just saying, look, I'm confused. Can you explain it to me? So we'll work in conjunction with our compliance lawyers with them and give them a whole vetting process within their business. And I suppose with the addition of 5,000 HMRC tax inspectors as well, maybe that people might not leave it till last minute.
That's not an army you want to hear about, is it?
And if you do leave it till last minute, you've got 5,000 tax inspectors that might be on the way knocking on your door. So we can, at Let's Do, we can put that arm around the agencies, basically.
That's where the importance of trust, advice, guidance, support comes. Because let's be honest, right? There are plenty of businesses out there, agencies that don't remember 2017 or 2012 or changes or whatever else. Because there's a lot of young entrepreneurial people, startups, or people that were in different roles that were just so far removed from your regulation, legislation, all that kind of stuff.
Because they've never had to be in front of it.
Exactly. So why would you? So the idea of these kind of things coming, it's just, you're hearing a lot about it. We've talked about it on our podcast a few times now because it is so pertinent and relevant and kind of guiding people towards advice. And we're partnering with people as you're aware that to support people in those things. But you kind of got to put your hand up, haven't you? And I think it is the most important time when there's a big change or there's an evolution or there's something out there that's when you earn your money almost, isn't it? Right? By giving, it's not even the paid stuff almost. Sometimes it's just that arm around the shoulder, like you say.
Completely. And what you tend to find is there's a panic at first.
Yeah.
Because people aren't educated on it. You had it with the Self-Employment 2014, 2016 amendments, 2016 travel and subsistence. We all know about AWR.
Changes every year, doesn't it?
Completely, but there's a pattern. Everyone panics at first. And then by the time they've kind of done the research, if they have done it, and we've got past the date where it's incepted, it almost runs itself, and the fear aspect comes down. You probably remember in 21 when we had the off payroll in the private sector, which we spoke about earlier. You had end clients doing a blanket ban on paying limited companies. They wouldn't engage with them at all because of the lack of knowledge in the industry. Fast forward 6 to 12 months maybe, and they realise they're not getting the skill set because they won't pay the limited company. Let's see if we can. And there was opportunities there for agencies to understand it, get in there, educate the end clients, and win business that they wouldn't ordinarily.
I think at a time like that, like a little bit of knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge. So it's like you have an interpretation of something that's out there, and if you're just not sure, I mean, the best advice we can give to our clients and you to your clients is you put your hand up and you ask somebody and say, it's not our job necessarily as an insurance broker to do that, but we engage with clients all the time, and you're sort of having those conversations, asking about, and it's obvious that they're not sure. Then why don't you speak to X or Y, or we'd love to put you in touch with somebody. And like we always say at the end of these, your contact details will be available for anyone that wants to pick up the phone in the world. A little bit of a plug for you there, but that's what we want to do. We want to bring people towards the right people and get that advice.
Yeah, completely. I mean, just to give you another case scenario on that. Recently, over the last couple of weeks, we spoke to a university that had a couple of million spend to agencies, and they wanted to look at reducing that spend, probably because of the pressures now in the current climate with government, etc. But the person in the charge of HR was advising that we can't pay limited companies because if we pay one, we'll have to pay them all. That's a complete lack of knowledge, and that's just an example. And I kind of get that a lot of the time within different areas of compliance.
What person in an academic environment in a £2 million food chain, in this one example, one person
completely
has interpreted it incorrectly, and therefore the whole machine just comes grinding to a halt.
We're not saying everyone has to be paid limited, but at least let's do the assessment.
And
see if it can.
You mentioned the key word earlier, opportunity. So where you do have things like blanket bans or people just burying their head in the sand. Those people who get it right. So like if we talk about the kind of blanket bans, the people who got it right actually found that they had more talent available to them because they didn't have these blanket bans.
Oh yeah, I've got another example for you on that one. We had a client, I had a client previously when it came into play in 21, and paid all their candidates limited because it was high level. engineering and tech.
Yeah.
We did the old assessments with them, got the client involved and everything, and because they were really worried that everyone would go PAYE and they couldn't engage with them again. Again, it's the little knowledge is a dangerous thing going. We got involved with the end client and went through the assessments, completely put their mind at rest. She ended up being sole supplier on the rest of the others in these.
Right, yeah.
His words were, why aren't the other agencies coming to me and telling me that we can do it this way? So you're right, there's opportunities if you know where they are.
I think
Shout up, basically.
Yes.
And I think talking about opportunities, I'm intrigued to know, Gary will probably, before we end, repeat without looking at his screen this time, the 20, 21 different Let's Do's that are out there. I'm not going to get these tattooed on me. So, you can only go so far, you can only do so much, but what's left? I mean, you've got other Let's Do's up your sleeve, you've got more things that you've got. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on where your core business is clearly taking your energy, but where do you see the next sort of 2 or 3 years going for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, that is, because Let's Do was born from my wife and I going to Blackpool one weekend when I decided to do it. The wife claims claims changing the S to the Z in Let's Do, which if you're watching, I'll give you that.
Yeah, my business named my business as well.
Yeah, you can have that one. But what we did do, once we'd incorporated, I don't know how they found this straight away, but I had one company give me a call because they liked the actual brand, wanted to know if I wanted to set up Let's Do Camping. Now, I mean, you don't want to dilute your brand. And probably starting up in because the recruitment was the low-hanging fruit and the invoice discount, the umbrella, the compliance, and everything else that comes there. I probably would have struggled if I'd probably included that at first. The point being, who knows? We've already got plans in other areas to expand, but we've set the market stall out with Let's Do. People know what we do from LinkedIn on that. I get DMs, messages daily from our posts. But I think coming into next year, it'll be time to probably look at other expanding areas, industries that we aren't. Who knows? Let's do travel. Let's do car insurance. You don't know. There's an opportunity with a brand that could work if we do that right.
Oh, massive.
It's exciting times.
And that's the thing, right? And doing it and setting it up and going on that journey and having the kind of the painful early times and whatever else, all those challenges. As we know, gives you that opportunity then to look at different things. I always use the analogy of, we know, like, we've got a plan. We have a 5-year plan, right? Who hasn't these days? 5 years is a long time, as you realise in business, right? But you've got a long-term plan, you've got a long-term vision, and you kind of walk in a straight line. But if you don't look left or right occasionally, God, you miss opportunities. There's so many things out there that are just, whether it's low-hanging fruit or something that somebody else hasn't spotted, that might be camping, by the way, but not in this weather. But
really want to see Let's Do Camping now.
You do, don't you?
Generate more revenue for you first. But yeah, there are some, if you walk just that straight line with total ton of vision towards your goals, which I think a lot of businesses or business books would tell you, tunnel vision focus, you miss so many opportunities.
Yeah, you do. And they drop on your desk as well. I think I remember Alex Polizzi, the daughter of the Trust Forte, said something once that I think it was the journey of 1,000 steps starts with one step, but take each step after each other, but be aware of everything while you're doing it. If you focus sometimes too long term, you forget the steps that get you there.
Massive.
So I think what we're trying to do with Let's Do is take those steps, try and do it right first time, but be aware of things that present on our. On our table, and don't rule anything out.
Fantastic.
I suppose.
Fantastic. Yeah. Gary, you're the man with the question.
Well, I was going to say, shall we wrap up there? And if anything, you know what to say before we wrap up?
No, I mean, just thanks for the opportunity to come and see you guys.
Really appreciate it, man. Yeah, great to see you, mate. Cheers, appreciate it.
Let's do more of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That's the next one.
Thanks, guys. Right, I'll wrap up the podcast there. So I'll just get some words in edgeways from our new host, Gary, over there in the corner. So, look, thanks ever so much for watching, as always. And again, we'll happily share Mike's contact details for those of you that are interested, because there is a lot of exciting and challenging things happening in your marketplace right now that I think definitely people need good advice, and that's what we're all out trying to put in front of something I know we have today. So thanks for appearing.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Bye.